Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Uplift. My name is Sarah Wade. I am your co-host today. Joining me and Neil Thrussell is Shane Bird, joining us from Sydney, New South Wales. Now, I just want to introduce myself so quickly. I'm sure you know I'm a little bit of a nature lover. I love art and I love helping people change their perspectives and doing so with a little bit of art just for fun. I know, shock horror, right? Neil, how are you today? You're looking fabulous.
I'm wonderful, thank you. And for those that don't know me, my name is Neil Thrussell. I am a 3 times international best-selling author, coach, lover of life, and I'm just so excited. And I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So we're coming to you from 2 locations, and I'm really excited to have Shane on our show today. Sarah.
So Shane and I have known each other for a few years now. We met each other at a personal development event and he struck me as a guy that I really needed to know. So we had a few conversations, skip forward a few years later, he's moved to Australia and he helps farmers to manage their mindset. Shane, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Neil. Look, like Sarah said, we actually met on a neuro-linguistic programming training that we did a couple of years ago now. And the reason I was there was I was up until 12 months ago, I was actually still farming. But the reason I was there was I was caught up in the personal development world, was doing lots of different seminars and stuff, and it led me to that program. And getting to that program really opened my eyes up to what is possible and really what we can do, especially with our mind alone. So I was there for myself. I had no intentions of becoming a coach or anything like that. But after doing those programs that we did, I was just like, wow, this stuff's way too powerful to keep to myself. Went home, started telling people about it. They were like, hey, can you help me with this? Then next thing they're like, hey, can I pay you to help me? And I'm like, cool, I'll do it part-time. And then as of January last year, so 15 months ago, I've been coaching full-time since I moved to Sydney. So I originally from New Zealand, born and raised there, but moved to Sydney in January 2020 and been coaching full time. Now, why farmers? It's probably a question you're going to ask me later on, but I'll probably hit on that now. I was born and raised on a farm, lived on a farm for 41 years, was running farms, was doing farm work, all that kind of stuff. So it just makes sense that, I understand the struggles that farmers go through. I understand the thinking that they have. So why not, make that my niche? It was perfect. And to be honest, there's not a lot of mindset coaches in the farming industry. So really, it's sort of I'm one of the only ones. So it makes me a real specialist in that area. So that's pretty much how I got to where I am now.
I love that.
And to me, that's amazing because I have a stereotypical view of a farmer. Most of the farmers I know, they're brilliant in that. But the downside is they can be very stuck in their ways, very tied to the land, and that my father did it this way and my grandfather did it this way. So how is dealing with that mindset been difficult to get over to work with farmers in that way, or just NLP has helped you deal with that?
Yeah, well, the NLP really just leads into everything that I do with the coaching. You're right. A lot of farmers get stuck in that, the comfort zone, the bubble that they were raised in. And like you say, a generational thing, dad did it this way, granddad did it this way. But then there's sometimes quite often a little conflict of, they start thinking outside the box and they're like, oh, I want to change something, but I don't want to disappoint dad because dad still lives on the farm where he comes to visit. So they're like, oh, well, they fear the rejection. Like, fear of rejection is probably a real big one that I see. And that they won't, implement new things because they fear that if they get it wrong, they'll let dad down and granddad down. So they just stay doing what they're doing the hard way, which was, over years, everything's become easier through technology and different systems. And there's certain things that they do, but there's a lot of other more simple ways that we can do things, yet they will hold back for the fear of rejection from their generational people that they won't really step outside the box. So what I generally do is teach them how to have confidence to make a decision.
Awesome.
I know a few farmers in Western Australia and they're starting to introduce the organic system and it's been a huge thing because, again, usually farms held down generation to generation and going against the grain of that of their grandparents. This is how we did it. What do you mean you want to introduce swales and save water and do amazing things? But they don't see it as amazing. So how do you get around that, Shane?
Well, because a lot of that now is actually forced by governments too, right? Like you have to do this, you have to fence waterways, you have to limit the amount of fertilizer you put on certain places. So then what happens is farmers think they're being controlled, so then they feel like they're losing control. So then they get in the negative mindset of I'll just fight back, I'll just fight back. But they're doing that out of a place of effect. They're living at the effect of the government instead of going, look, this is just the way it is. I can't actually change the rules. How can I best apply myself or change things for myself and for the farm so that I continue the legacy that we've currently got? So that straight away is going from effect to cause. It's like, what can I do in this situation? If you live at effect, you're going to be a victim. If you live at cause, it's like, how can I be the victor in the situation? How can I have a solution rather than a problem?
So I'm just going to ask quick. So what you just said was cause and effect. Can you explain briefly cause and effect for our listeners? Because you went through that really fast, and not everyone knows cause and effect.
Yeah, so quite simply, whenever I start a coaching session, any kind of coaching session, I'm looking for, is this person living at effect or are they living at cause? The reason is, if you live at effect, so I'll slow down. Actually, I do speak really fast, don't I? When you live at effect, is you're blaming someone or something else for the way your life is, which means what you're really saying is, I need that other person or that other thing to change so I can feel better. If you live at effect and you rely on someone or something else to change, you're going to suffer for your life because they may not never change. When you go, how can I live at cause? It's like, this is the situation in. What can I do to improve my situation now? Now, that's a cause statement. What can I do? What can I do? How can I make this happen? How can, and it all comes down to asking quality questions instead of going, why does this happen to me? It's like, how can I use this to improve myself? How can I use this to move forward? How can I use this to grow? You have to grow. Because if a tree stops growing, what happens? It dies. So you've got to keep growing. You can grow out of it. Like some people go, I'll just go through the situation. No. Grow through the situation.
I love
Absolutely.
That. Little tweak and grow and go. So where are people going with you, Shane? What do you notice the trend of people coming in with an issue, and then where do they grow to?
Confidence, again, just that confidence in themselves. Because if you're real confident in yourself and you can back yourself to make a decision and follow through, like you're unlimited, right? Like you'll believe you can do anything. So people come to me with those limitations, a lack of self-belief, lack of self-worth, feel like they don't deserve stuff, think they're not capable, feel like they're in fear of failure and all that kind of stuff. So I teach them how to be confident, because confidence will overcome all of that, right? So I just teach them how to have confidence to make decisions so that then they can go out in life and make a decision. And then when a challenge comes up, is go, right, I'm going to be a cause right now. How can I overcome this challenge?
Nice.
So have you noticed with the people that you're dealing with, the farmers that you're dealing with, that when they change their mindset, that there's a correlation to their bottom line, that their farm becomes more profitable, their life becomes, for lack of a better term, better quality for them? Do you notice this, or?
Absolutely, that's the feedback I get all the time, is they feel more fulfilled and more happy and more ready to go out and face the day. So yes, the bottom line is one way to measure it, but really is, how do you feel within yourself? Like, how does your heart feel when you wake up in the morning? Are you going, I've got to go and do that job now? Or it's like, yeah, I get to do this because I know it's going to help grow the business. I know I'm going to feel good out of it. So when I was farming, I used to go, I have to go fencing. I have to go and fix that fence, or I have to shear those sheep. Like, two jobs that aren't really that much fun. They can be fun, but they're quite physically hard, right? And I remember specifically shifting it, going, I get to go fencing and I get to go and shear some sheep, because it straight away shifts the mindset from being, this is a shitty job that I don't want to do, to actually, I can actually really enjoy this if I've got the mindset that it actually can be fun. And just doing that in itself, like, that's what I teach people to do, is to go from, this is something I have to do. And quite often, again, with the generational thing, is I have to do it this way because granddad did it this way. To actually, this is something I can implement and do my way, which is going to help us be a better farm, better for the future, better for our kids. And it's just going to have that flow-on effect.
Excellent. I love it.
I think that same thing can be applied, that having fun, that I get to do things, can be applied anywhere. It be simple things like I get to cook for my family, and I can have a dance. I can have some fun whilst I'm going about a mediocre task. something that 9 billion people all around the world do every single day, cook dinner. How many people have fun while they're doing it?
Exactly.
You know? Why not have that choice?
It's like saying I get to put petrol in the car because I get to drive another 500 kilometers or 300 miles if you're in North America, or I have to put petrol in the car. It's like, oh, I have to pay for it. It's like, man, I'm so grateful I get to pay for this because it gives me another 500 kilometers of life.
Absolutely. I remember one time my wife and I have no kids, but we've got 13 nephews and nieces. And I remember one day we're doing the dishes and my niece was like, I don't want to do the dishes. It's terrible. It's not fun. So we're in our sock feet on our linoleum floor. And I just take soapy water and I threw it on the floor. And in North America, we ice skate. So we were ice skating, which then turned into a hockey game, which then turned into a fight on the floor. So we just made it fun. We did eventually get the dishes done, but it was that we had fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we were talking in backstage or back in the green room, you had mentioned you were in Canada doing amateur rodeo. How did you decide to come, or why, or how? Tell us the story of you were drawn to come to Canada to do some rodeoing.
So, when I left high school, actually, my brother and his mate decided to go rodeoing around the circuit in New Zealand, and I just left high school, was looking for something to do, so jumped in the car and just saw the excitement and the fun. I was just a spectator there. Decided, oh, cool, I might actually take up this bull riding business. So, started riding bulls and very quickly found out I was terrible at it. What else can I do in rodeo? And I saw the bullfighter, and anyone who's been to rodeo see the rodeo clown, and I thought that looks like a lot of fun. So I learned that, applied my trade there, and really understood that, and got really good at it. And then was doing it for years and years and years in New Zealand, and thought, well, I actually want to experience this somewhere else. So I'd actually been to Australia a couple of times to do it, just on short visits. But I thought I'm going to go to Canada. I'd always liked the idea of Canada, even growing up as a kid, just the photos and the videos that I'd seen. So I thought I'm going to go to Canada, and 2 years in a row, spent 3 months in Canada. Luckily had an in there with a guy, ex-New Zealander, who had rodeo bulls there, was a contractor, so he got me started there, which was really cool, and came over and did the amateur rodeos and a semi-pro bull riding tour as well. And look, I just loved it. I just loved going to rodeos, fighting bulls. Bullfighting for me was a massive challenge. Like, it's the metaphor for my life, really, is put yourself in the uncomfortable and find out really what you're made of to get out of it. And when you're in the arena with a bull that wants to do whatever he can to run you over, you have no back out. It's not a game of football or rugby or something like that where the ref will blow the whistle because you sprained your ankle or you're a bit sore or whatever. It's like there's no way out. You have to keep going. You have to fight through so that you can improve your life, which is basically just get away from the bull.
Yes.
Wow. I've seen some great pictures of you, Shane, in your clown outfits. How long does it take for you guys to not only physically, get dressed and put the makeup on, but actually get into that mindset of I'm about to go and face a bull, and I could be really sore when I come out if I don't do the right thing.
Yeah, the mindset thing, just I like anything. The longer you do it, the faster it happens. So it got to the point where I'd essentially, when I was in the arena, as I go in the arena, I'd just do a quick visualization of me successfully making a couple of saves, and then visualize myself walking out of the arena, safe and secure, safe out of the arena. So that just sets the intention of what I'm there for, whether it's a half-hour bull ride or a 3-hour bull ride, however long it takes. And then the other thing was I do what's called like a Superman pose or a power pose. So I would always stand with just before the chute gate comes open, I'd stand like I'm sort of like Superman. So chest up, chin up, absolute stance of certainty and confidence, knowing then I was on the front foot ready to go in and make the save and do what I had to do for as long as I had to so that bull rider could get out of the way. Because sometimes it might just be a split second or a 2-second thing. Sometimes it might take you 2 minutes. So you have to be on your game because other people are relying on you. And that's when we're coaches, exactly what we do. You have to be on your game because people are relying on you. They'll put up their hand, they're paying you, so you have to deliver. There's no way out. You can't just go, oh, shoot, I don't know. It's like find the certainty within yourself. Understand what it takes to get the result for them.
For any listener that doesn't know what the the clown. It's misnomer, but the clown in bull riding is actually almost like the paramedic and the lifeline for the rider, because the rider can be dazed as he's thrown off, and it is the job of the clown to put himself into harm. He doesn't intentionally put himself into harm's way, but it's his job to distract the bull long enough so that people can tend to the rider if they're not there. So it's a hugely important and actually a very dangerous occupation or sport. So thank you. And apparently you appear to be all fingers and limbs there. So you must have been successful at it.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I fought bulls for 19 years and I had a few broken bones, but nothing compared to what a lot of other people go through. So I don't know if that says I was any good or I was just real lucky. I don't know. But yeah, super lucky. Never actually spent a night in hospital through it. Made a few trips to hospital, but never spent a whole night. So it was very blessed.
There's that saying, sometimes you have to be lucky to be good, and sometimes you have to be lucky to be good.
Yeah.
So Shane, how is the difference between working with farmers compared to working with the general population? Like, have you done both?
Yep. Yeah, like I'd say 90%, maybe 85% of my clients are from a farming background, brought up on a farm, live on a farm, or, have that rural knowledge. I do work with other people. I've had professional rugby players, electricians, quantity surveyors, gym owners, real estate agents, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, the mind still works the same. And I'm still looking, how can we go from effect to cause? And it just comes, like, I don't really care what someone thinks. I want to understand how they think. Because the how they think is the creating the unwanted patterns, behaviors. And that's what I'm looking for, is how do you think? And then we can go back, rewind that, work out what created that how, what created the way that you think, and reprogram the mind there. So reframe it, reprogram it, so you think differently on the same triggers though.
It makes sense, clear, and the things that you value, or maybe your parents, or those that you looked up to value, would then, I'm assuming, would influence your life and your decisions going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that the first 7 years is the imprint period, where you don't actually question what's happening. Whatever happens in the first 7 years, you just believe it to be true. So if you're raised in an abusive family, you just think that's all, and mum or dad never leave. You just think that a way to be loved is abuse. So then there's a good chance you're going to be an abusive parent or abusive husband or abusive wife as well, because you didn't know any different. It was so ingrained in you, right?
Yeah.
Just for our listening and viewing audience, and if you have any questions for Shane, we'd love to hear from you. He's a wealth of information, and we're only here for like another 40 minutes, so don't be shy, jump in, and we'd love to answer some of your questions.
So I'm curious then, Shane, farmers, they live on their farm. They're not surrounded by a lot of people. Is there a lot of loneliness that happens with farmers, and why they come to see you?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for young farmers before they, have a girlfriend or get married and have kids and stuff. And quite often they'll end up on those big stations way out in the outback, or way up in the mountains in New Zealand and stuff, and living on their own quite often. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of loneliness. So then, a classic example is that the farming, the stereotypical farmer won't talk about his feelings, and there's a good reason, because our grandfathers never had anyone to talk to. So then they didn't teach my father how to talk about his feelings. So then I didn't get taught how to do it. So if you don't talk about and process your feelings, it just gets bottled up, and then they start working against you. So that, the whole loneliness is a big thing. And then when they do, they feel sort of an internal conflict within themselves. They don't know how to express it, or they don't know how to ask for help, which is, I mean, to be honest, suicide rates in the rural industry is massive, because guys don't know how to open up. All they have to do is just ask.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, to ask for help for a lot of people, and again, to receive that help. Really powerful to be vulnerable enough to ask for help. Yeah.
I mean, strength and the vulnerability, and again, stereotypical farmer is tough, doesn't complain, gets on and does it. So how tough are you if you ask for help? Well, it seems you're weak. However, no, it's much stronger to ask. You're much stronger to ask.
And I know in North America, it's not taught in the schools to ask for help. It's not a common thing. And yeah, if your parents didn't teach you, or your community hasn't taught you and been open with you, most people don't know how to ask for help, and especially adults.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. My daughter actually asks for help a lot. I'm curious, I've been asking a lot of other parents, like, when do your kids stop asking for help? And I'm really hoping that as our generations, grow and age and life changes, that we don't stop, that we, my 4-year-old's going to continue to ask for help through her teens into her adulthood and keep telling people it's okay to ask for help. What would be a good way to start a conversation, guys? If you're feeling a bit lonely, down, you're not in a good space, how would you approach someone? I need some help.
Well, a classic example again with farmers is they go to the pub on a Friday night and they walk in and you go, "Hey mate, how you going?" And you go, "Oh, you're good." Which, whether it's true or not, it's just the standard, "Yeah, I'm going good." And then straight away the conversation goes to, if I say, "Oh, I'm good," straight away they talk to me like I'm good. Now, if I walk in the pub and someone goes, "Hey, how you going, Shane?" And I go, "Oh, look, I'm not that flash at the moment. I'm, struggling with this." Total different conversation, right? So, I mean, the initial question was, how do you ask for help? The first thing is you got to be honest. Like when someone does ask how you're doing, like be honest. Say, actually, I'm feeling like shit, or I'm struggling with this, or, the stock aren't performing, and I'm really not sure. Because then you start having a different conversation and you get better ideas. But the initial question of how do you ask for help is you've just got to just ask. Just say, "Hey, look, I'm struggling with this. Do you have any ideas?" It's not like you're going to go straight and go, "Look, I've got massive depression and all that." It's just go, "Look, I'm really struggling to get out of a funk at the moment. What do you do when you're feeling down? What do you do when, you have a bad season? What do you do when there's a flood? What do you do when you have the drought?"
So it's about workshopping ideas, really. It's about saying, "Well, hey, I'm struggling. Well, what do you do?" Yeah.
Mastermind.
Yeah, and many people will mask it with conversations, especially typical males, or stereotypical males, will mask it with sports metaphors and conversations. The fluff that's important for initial bonding, but if they're really your friends or your mates, the opportunity we need as men and everybody to take that opportunity to be open and vulnerable, as Shane had talked.
Absolutely.
So what would you do then if you had someone who was regularly down? I'm really, really shit. This happened, that happened, and they're obviously not in a good space. What would you recommend if you're experiencing this? What would the next step be?
Get a coach. Find someone who knows the way. Like, quite simply, find someone who knows the solution. If I wanted to learn how to shear a sheep, I'm going to ask a shearer to teach me how to shear a sheep. If I want to learn how to fence, I'm going to ask a fencer to teach me how to fence. If I want to learn how to drive the new tractor that Case have just released, I'm going to go to the salesman and say, "Teach me how to drive this so I can put my implements on and do it." If I want to get out of a funk, if I want to get out of depression, find someone who knows how to do it. Find someone that's got the tools. And then study them, get them to teach you, pay them to teach you, and then it's the fastest way out of it. You can read it all and all that kind of stuff. You can learn how to do anything now on YouTube. It just takes time. The fastest way to success is find someone who's got the result you want, say, "Here's my money, teach me." Because as soon as you pay them, you put more accountability on yourself to go and to do the work that's required, to do the things they're suggesting, and it also puts more accountability on them to do the best they can for you. I see often people go, "Oh, I just want, I want some advice for free," and then you go, "Do this," and they go, "Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. It's too much work." Well, it's like, I'm telling you to do this because it works. I've lived it. I've done it. I wouldn't tell you to go and do something that's not going to work.
Absolutely, and it's amazing that people will look for free advice and everything, but when they have to pay for it, they back away, and yet sometimes paying for advice in most cases is the best way, because it's just, well, and it's just an energy exchange. It's just, yeah, because we all need some form of skin in the game, or some way of to be accountable to it. So yeah.
Yeah, and people won't pay for it because they don't value themselves. It's not like they're going, oh, there's not enough value in the product. As long as it's from a genuine, authentic source and it's delivered with integrity, there's value there, and you get as much value out of that product as you pay for it. So if you pay $30 for a program, you'll get $30 worth of value. If you pay $3,000 for the program, you will get $3,000 worth of value out of it. Now, the only thing that would stop you is you don't think you're worth $3,000.
Absolutely. Oh, idea just went gone.
Yeah, you either pay for it or you pay for it, one way or another. You know, you asking for help is such a brilliant thing to do, and success leaves clues. So as Shane said, look, if you guys are struggling in one area or another, find someone who's done it in the area that you want to change, in the area that you want to succeed in, because that person's got some good skills, they've got some knowledge, and they'd love to share that with you.
100%.
So, yeah, go ask.
And that's a beautiful part. So many people, like, if you're looking for a mentor, you can find someone to mentor you in almost anything, and people love to share their knowledge. And yet many people, back to Shane's initial thing, don't know how to ask, or are afraid to ask, and we, as especially adults, need to get out of our way of being afraid to ask.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you struggle, or do your typical clients, do they struggle with big dreams, or are they, because they're so focused on just this plot of land that they have, or are they able to see a much bigger, broader picture than the four squares or the four corners that they're working on?
It's probably a bit of variation in that. I do see a lot where they feel like they're trapped because it's been the family farm for 3 or 4 generations, and they fear that they can't let it go or stuff like that. So when it's like that, when they're in that situations, they are in the 4 squares. There's other people, there's definitely other people that I see that have a bigger vision. They don't know how to get to it, right? They don't know what decisions to make or how to have the confidence to approach, what needs to happen. So a good variation in that. But yeah, like, I definitely see that whole, oh, I'm trapped here situation.
And so I'm trapped. I'm trapped in here. What would be a tool that I could use, an easy tool or an easy mantra that I could use to help me get unstuck?
Well, the first question you got to really ask is, why are you there? Who are you doing it for? If you're not doing it for yourself, then you have to leave, because you're going to burn out and you're going to be stuck in negative emotions all the time. So,
but it's the family farm, Shane.
Yep. And family farms that have been in the generations for 140 years get sold all the time. And if essentially what you're saying, though, also, if you stay there, like if you're in a negative place and you stay there and you're like, I have to farm this because it's the family farm, and you've got 3 kids, you're saying one of you have to do this. And that's putting pressure on them. And one of them might want to be a ballet dancer, one might want to be a mechanic, and the other one probably wants to be a teacher. But you're saying one of you have to do it, because otherwise you're going to let the family down. And really, you're not letting the family down. You're actually releasing the family from that negative, you have to do this. You're releasing the family so they have options. You're releasing the family to live their full fulfillment.
Beautiful. And it also, in my mind, changes the family dynamics when you don't have this expectation, and you're not forcing your 3 kids, these fictitious kids we're talking about, to uphold the family legacy. That you are not going to achieve your dream because you need to uphold this legacy. And because I'm miserable, damn it, you're going to be miserable.
Pretty nice.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Now, I know, we've been talking about farmers, passing down from generation to generation. There's, what are you going to do? I'm going to be a farmer like my dad. However, most of the population will change their career several times. I think on average, we're looking at about 6 types of jobs in industry at the moment for the average now 40-year-old. So I'm curious, if you are thinking about changing, getting out, doing that next step, how would you brainstorm ways to get out? Apart from asking a coach, what's another thing that we could do?
So find out what really lights you up. What do you really love to do? And then go, how can I be paid for it? Like if you're looking for your mission, you're looking for 4 areas, right? Something you love, something you're good at, something you can be paid for, and something the world needs. If you can find something that meets all 4 of them, you will have a mission. If you're missing one, if you only get 3 of them, it can still work, but it's probably not going to be long term. And sometimes you'll go into that, like sometimes you'll end up in the farming and you'll be like, yeah, that meets all my needs, but you'll start to not like it. You won't love it. So then you're like, oh, this doesn't sit well with me. Or there'll be the government might put in new regulations, and then you're not good at everything in farming. So you're like, oh, it doesn't align with me. Or maybe the price is changing, you're not getting paid as well for it. So you're just like, oh, no. So then you start to look at other options. So if you can find something, so you just go, and then if you go, right, what else can I do? And you get curious. You write down all the things that you love, all the things you're good at, all the things you can be paid for, and all the things the world needs. And now if you get any of them that come together as all 4 in a new industry, go and do that. If not, get curious. Just go out and try stuff.
Yeah, find your akaki. That's great advice. I love that. Yeah.
And that works. We've been talking specifically about farmers, but that works for every single human being on the planet. Doesn't matter which country, what your background is, how old you are. If you are looking for a mission, it works for it all. So,
100%.
yeah. And it's just, we've picked, because Shane is in that niche or niche, the whatever way you want to say, that's why we're using farmers. But it can be whatever the skills that Shane has been mentioning are easily transferable to everyone and anyone, even the ballerinas, even the left brain thinkers, the right brain, even art therapists.
Oh, maybe? Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I suspect at some point in time, Sarah had to go, what do I want to do with my life? And it was the same questions.
Absolutely. And yeah, just like Shane said, just, getting it out there and figuring out what you really want. And you know what? If you give something a go and it's not for you, big deal. Move on. Actually, interestingly, I started temping for a while when I started getting back into the workforce after I had my back fused. And I started temping for a few reasons. 1, because it was easy work. But 2, because I wanted to see what was it like to do different types of things. I come from a kitchen background. I was a chef, and I couldn't do it physically anymore. So what is the best way for me? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take the cream of the lessons of all the different industries that I'm temping at to see what I like, to see what actually aligns with me. And what I found was none of it really aligned with me. and I just need to go and scrap everything, start again, and start reading, start learning new things, start educating myself, start surrounding myself with people who I admired and people who I wanted to be like. That changed my life massively. Instead of hanging around people who were in rehab, in pain, in pretty terrible states internally and externally, I started changing those people who I was around, and wow, my life changed. Guys, have you experienced that too?
Absolutely. Like, change your environment. You become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. I saw a video with Mark Mero, used to be one of the WWF wrestlers. He was presenting to the school and he said, show me your friends and I'll show you the future. If you want to be a drug addict, go and hang out with the druggies. If you want to be a really wealthy businessman, go and hang out with the really wealthy business people. And that might mean moving city, right? Moving town, moving locations. So the good thing about what you were doing, Sarah, is it gives you opportunities. It's 100% like change the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you were hanging out with lots and lots of different 5 people every time, and it gave you an opportunities and it gave you an exposure and opened up ideas. That's all called getting out of your comfort zone, right? Like in the comfort zone, you stick with the same people that you're with all the time. You got to get out of that. In order to grow and become more, you got to go to the uncertainty, which is being good at being uncomfortable, because there's growth there. That's where growth always is. And then outside of that is the unknown zone. So temping to all those people is you're way out in the unknown zone, but it's giving you exposure to so much more stuff. And it's like, you'll be surprised what you come across. You go, oh, I actually love to be a car mechanic, or I love changing tires on cars. I'm going to set up my own car tire changing business. You know, anything's possible. It's just, if you're not exposed, if you don't see it, you don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things that we think we know, and there's obviously stuff we don't know, but so many people aren't aware that there's just infinite amounts of stuff that we have no idea that we don't know. I know that even if I studied for my entire life, I'm going to have a fraction of everything there is to know, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah. I got my daughters, I know everything, Mummy, in my head. I'm like, darling, you don't. And last week I overheard her telling one of her friends, you don't know everything and you're not going to know everything. And it was a huge conversation for 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And it was interesting to hear the adults, how they heard that conversation and how they responded then with the parents. And that in itself was an interesting conversation. So they started it. These little tiny people started it. And the big humans started having these really massive changes in their mindset. It was brilliant. And thanks for watching, Miriam. I appreciate you. Take care. And if anyone else would like to join in the conversations, please light it up. We've got Shane with us for about an extra 20 minutes. So, yeah, ask us some questions.
Yeah. So I'm making things up here on Shane's behalf. So you left New Zealand to Sydney because you needed to change your 5 best friends?
Well, on a certain level, yes. My partner was living in Sydney, so we wanted to be together. So that was the underlying reason to come to Sydney, was to be with my partner. But it certainly did change my 5 friends for sure. Like, I used to hang out with farmers. Well, actually, I was living and working on mum and dad's farm, so I would see them every day. So, you know, they were the 2 of the 5 that I would see a lot. My son was another one. And then the 2 guys that I did a bit of outside work with were probably the other 2. So I used to, you know, now I still have my son with me. However, the people I hang out with now is totally different. It's my partner, we've got a housemate, and then sort of our friends that we hang out with here. So there's a bit of a mixture there, but totally changed who I hang out with. Also, the coaching program that I was with my coach, total different mindset of people there. They all live at cause. So we get on those weekly calls, and I love those calls, two times weekly calls, because people have an at cause mindset. So it's like, how can we solve problems? It's all about solving problems, which is exactly what a coach does, right?
Oh, I've got a problem, and I've got a problem with the problem. You've got a solution. I've got a problem with that solution. Like that.
Some people have a problem for every solution. It was Einstein, wasn't it?
Yeah, it could be. And I'm sorry, I love those people, but I don't want to coach them.
Look, the other thing I teach my clients is, yes, there's some people you can't get rid of your life. Like, you can't just kick family members out, or maybe work, you know, colleagues and stuff like that. You can't do that, but you can enforce boundaries for yourself so that you don't take on the negative energy.
Yep.
Yeah, boundaries.
I always tell them, when they're being negative, just say, thank you for that negative energy. I send it back with love. Don't say it out loud, because it might be affecting. But if you unconsciously say that to yourself, if someone says something negative, whether it's to you or around you, you don't have to take it on. You can stop yourself receiving that. Just go, thank you for that negative energy. I send it back with love, because you turn the energy around and send it back to them with love.
Absolutely. And for many people, that's a huge, phenomenal life lesson, is how to deal with family. And yeah, because as coaches, we get to see a lot of underlying family drama and have to help the person get through it. And what I like about coaching is we don't have to know the whole story. We just have to know, okay, there's some family drama. Okay, so let's work on that. And I love that. Yeah, it's just I love you, and I don't have to accept that negative energy. And just
sorry, I was going to say the other thing I teach them is, so it's the whole find out how they think. Like I find out how my clients think. I teach them to understand how that family member thinks too, and then look at it from their perspective. Put yourself in their body, look through their eyes, understand their upbringing, their thoughts, their beliefs, their values, and then go, I wonder why they're behaving that way, and then go, what can I do to help them? How can I communicate with them completely differently? Rather than just going, oh, you're always negative, or stop whining and all that. It's actually, oh, I wonder why they're in a negative space right now.
Absolutely. I have 2 older sisters and one younger, and a brother younger than me. And we always talk about a particular Christmas, and half the family thinks it was the best Christmas, and half the families thinks it was the worst. And yet we were all at the same event. We all experienced Christmas at the same time, and yet it's each person's rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
And of course, the other half was wrong because I was always right. No.
Exactly right.
So I'm just curious. We've got a few people watching us right now. How many people would you say are right in the world, or how many people would you say are wrong in the world? Like let's call it 9 billion people out there. Yeah. How many people are right?
Well, everyone's right in their own mind.
I mean, Neil's right now. I mean, sorry, I should say Lord Neil Thrussell is right. Yeah, we are all right in our own mind. And then if we all had a look at this particular conversation, there are 3 people who are right.
100%.
So how would you, if you're having a conversation with somebody else about values and you're looking at it as a fly on the wall, how would you dissect that?
Interpretation. Find out what their interpretation is of that word or that sentence that was just spoken. Because we can all have different interpretations for very similar words or even a sentence. So if I say to you, I beat my wife up every morning, what do you think?
Not a great image.
Yeah. No, good. You said not a great image. You think I get up and punch her in the face every morning. Now, if you're an elite athlete and I say I beat my wife up every morning, you'll probably go, oh, it's a race to get out of bed.
Absolutely.
7 words, exactly the same order, 2 completely different meanings. How you were raised is exactly how you hear that. We all heard it, and words are just tones that come through the airwaves. We all heard it. We just produce those tones to make a different emotion within ourselves. So anyone who was brought up in an abusive home probably felt a knot in their stomach and went, oh, that guy's a bit of a prick. Anyone who was brought up in a competitive home probably felt their heart race going, oh, another race, how can I win? And it's just how we were raised. It comes down to our thoughts, our beliefs, our values, memories, decisions, all that kind of stuff that's been ingrained in us, especially when we were young.
What's that?
And yes, beautiful. And what I find amazing is that most people don't realize that their beliefs are not even their own.
Oh, don't get me started on that. We're all thieves. We're all thieves. We stole those beliefs off someone else.
Yeah. Or, they were given to us from our culture, our country of origin, our community of origin. They were given to us, and till we choose to look at them, we're slave to them. So, absolutely. And for your clients, what are some of the processes that you help your clients with to deal with some of their limiting beliefs?
So most of the time I use timeline therapy. There's other processes you can use just through a normal set of questions, but I find out where that belief was created, and again, generally from a very young age. A simple process is go, what's the story? What's the story you're telling yourself? What is it? What's the meaning that gives you that story? What's the belief that gives you that meaning? And what's the thought that creates the belief? And then go, okay, what's a different thought you can have? And then you straight away create a different belief, gives it a different meaning, so then you have a different story.
And to our viewers, the only depressing part is you need to do that to almost every thought that you ever had to understand where it came from.
Exactly. Yep.
And when you actually, to our listeners, when you understand where you've come from and what your beliefs, and you allow yourself to move past them, it's really liberating and freeing. And then it becomes a world of possibility, or as in Shane's languaging, a world of cause.
Yeah, possibility is a real good word there, because as soon as you believe the belief, you then label yourself. I just say challenge the belief. Is it true, or is it true for you, or is it true for someone else? So why do you choose to hold on to that belief? And there's a secondary gain there reason that it serves them to believe that in some way or another.
I've got the thoughts of a mentor of mine in my head right now. The only problem with our beliefs is that we believe them.
Yep.
True story, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm curious, what actually got you started in the personal development sector? Like, how did you take that leap from the farm to joining probably hundreds or thousands of people?
So
Great question.
It's a good question. I could share a half-hour story on this, but I'll wrap it up in a few minutes. Quite simply, I grew up so I got three brothers. I got one older, two younger. The oldest brother was always out doing his own thing. The two younger brothers were like best mates, so I felt alone, right? Grew up in a small country village, school of about 30 people. So at home, I felt like I was alone. When I was at school, there was two other boys my age, and they were both Māori boys, and they kind of hung out the marae. They had their own culture, so I didn't feel like I fitted in at school. So at primary school, felt like a loner, felt like I was isolated, felt like I was no one, felt like I didn't matter. My greatest fear is that I didn't matter. Then went to high school, so went from a school of 30 to a school of about 1,100. Was in the hostel. Again, wasn't a lot of kids my age there. By then, I didn't know how to communicate or interact with people. Really craved connection, however, feared rejection more than anything else. And also feared that if I said anything and it didn't, it wasn't good, whatever, then they would laugh at me and reject me more. So felt like I couldn't have a voice. I can vividly remember walking around high school just about every single day, hoping someone would talk to me, but praying they wouldn't. Because what if I said something that made me even more rejected? So no self-belief, no self-esteem, lack of confidence, fear of rejection, fear of failure, all that stuff just built up. Left school, felt like I was a no one. Went through life, got married, had a couple of kids, but still felt like really uneasy with who I was, but had no idea about personal development, no idea that you could work on yourself. And by chance, through rodeo, met a guy who had done the Anthony Robbins Unleash the Power Within years and years ago when he was a bull rider. He was a bull riding coach when he came to New Zealand to teach some guys. So got exposed to this name, Anthony Robbins, and thought, okay, that's cool. And then a year later, I was going to rent a video from a video shop. It was actually probably a video back in those days, not a DVD even. But there were some Tony Robbins CDs sitting on the shelf. So I hired them, pirated them, put them on my computer, put them on my MP3 player, and spent about 3 or 4 years just listening to them, because listened to them once and thought, wow, this is interesting. This is like really making me think outside my box, outside my comfort zone. So listened to them over and over again for about 3 years till I finally got thought, right, I'm going to actually go to one of his seminars. So 2015, went to a seminar in Sydney, sat down within an hour. I'm just like, wow, this stuff's amazing. Then as the seminar went on, they offer an upsell and different stuff, and I just signed up for more stuff. And then from then on, just was doing more and more different types of courses and programs, which then eventually led to the neuro-linguistic programming. Now created the coaching business that I have. So it was just through the opportunities, the exposure to other things, not doing what I would normally do. And then next thing I knew, I'm living in Sydney, running coaching programs, coaching one-on-one, everything, all that kind of stuff, doing it online, presenting online. Whereas if you'd asked me 5 years ago, hey, run an 8-week coaching program, and you're going to have 12 or 15 people on it that are going to pay you thousands of dollars to do it, I'd be like, is there someone behind me you're talking to? Like, there's no way I would have even fathomed doing that, let alone stand up in front of people to talk rather than actually present and offer this kind of knowledge to other people.
And what's even more amazing to me is the young high school you to say, oh, by the way, you're going to do this, much later in life, and you're going to be talking to people, and people are going to come and hunt you and look for you for your skills. Can you imagine going back and having that conversation with the young Shane?
I coach people from high school now. Like
Yes.
from my high school, I've got people that I coach from high school, and like I don't know what they thought about me then, but I'm sure they've definitely seen a different person now. And if you'd said to me, like if they said to me, oh, when we're 40, I'm going to sign up for your 8-week program, or I'm going to sign up for your one-on-one program, I'd be like, what 8-week program? Well, I can't help you. Like I was always like, you're out of my league. You're way up here. I'm a nobody. Who are you? I'm a nobody.
There's a strong theme in here about doing something different. This show's been about stepping outside your boundaries, outside that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it leads me to believe that there are a lot of people who are teetering on the edge of, I think I'm ready to change. I think I'm ready to do something different.
Yeah.
Shane, if I was that person and I'm ready to do something different, what would you say what have you got to offer?
It's going to take effort, and you have to fight off the primary need, or the primary what's the primary function of your brain. Your primary function of your brain is to survive. When you're born, but what can you do to survive? What needs to happen? The second primary function is to conserve energy so you can survive, so you can fight off any challenges. So if you go back to when we're a caveman, I just did a live on this morning actually. John Assaraf talks about this. If you go back to when you're a caveman, your primary function is to survive, and you need to conserve energy so you can outrun the saber-toothed tiger. So whenever you've got this desire or this feeling, oh, I need to change, yes, you go, yep, I'm going to do it. And there's that little spark of motivation, but then procrastination, self-doubt, self-sabotage, hesitation all kicks in. It's because your brain goes, oh, that's going to take effort to do something else. Don't do that in case something big comes up where you have to survive. Now, the problem with that is you stay in your little wee tiny bubble, like it's even smaller. Again, actually, in your safe zone. Now, the best way to live life is to be safe anywhere. How do you do that? Is you teach yourself how to be safe anywhere, which means you've got to get out of that comfort zone. You have to challenge your brain and go, yes, I know you're trying to preserve energy so I can survive, but I want to use some energy now so I can strengthen my survival skills. So then I can survive bigger things in life.
Makes sense. Yeah, one of the things that I told some of my clients to do is just to do something that scares them. Just it doesn't have to be huge, just that little bit, just that little bit more. And then what happens is internally your body gets used to that feeling. And if you're struggling with anxiety or depression, these feelings actually go down because you're pushing yourself that little bit more. So if you're under attack, you've got that survival skills, and you can help yourself.
Yeah.
But in those times of panic and struggle, when you've done those little things to push yourself, you feel it just in a different state of mind. I can handle this. I did that last week. I jumped off that bungee jump, or I got out of the house and I did something by myself when I was really quite scared.
Absolutely, 1% a day. 1%. If you improve 1% a day if you do the simple math, 1% a day for a whole year, it's 365%. But if you do it on a compound interest way, then I don't know what it is, but it's way up over there. Like it's 1%. The next day, then it's 1.1, 1.1, and it just goes up and up and up. So all you've got to do is challenge yourself, do something that scares you once every day. Just that one thing's going to stretch you 1%, and then after a year, you're a totally different person.
So if I wanted to challenge myself and join your program, what would be the best way to find you?
Well, because you know me.
Let's get on the phone.
I've got the two things. I think Neil's going to put up. I've got a website, shanebird.com. That's just a standard website, and you can just click on the contact now, and it'll send me an email. Or the actual easiest way is to find me on Facebook, which is right here. So just look up Shane Bird. And send me a friend request basically, and I'll definitely get that and interact with you. Send me a message. I generally check my those messages that are hidden if you're not friends. So I'll Facebook's the easiest way to contact me, and if you can't find me there, just jump on my website shanebird.com and just go to the contact page and send me an email. I think even my phone number might be on there if you want to send me a text.
Excellent.
So, and if you're a farmer, or if you know a farmer who'd be interested in getting to know Shane a bit better, you can join his group. The Farmer's Mindset is just full of value and filled with beautiful tips from this amazing human that we've got joining us now. Neil, have you got anything
Yes.
coming?
For me, the best way to get a hold of me is on Neil Thrussell on Facebook. And it's funny. There's like 3 Neil Thrussells, and one of them is in New Zealand, which is I've actually been to New Zealand twice in my life, and it's a beautiful country. And the other way you can get a hold of me is through my website, neilthrussell.com, and you can find my programs, you can get links to my best-selling books, and I'd love to connect and see how I can be of service.
And for myself, you can find me on Instagram. I'm a creative person, and I love getting in touch with colors and stuff. So you'll see my Instagram page full of quite the rainbow of satisfaction and joy. Now, I would say this because art, for me, brings me satisfaction and joy, and it helps me to, one, do something different because there's no rules in art, and it also helps me to design the life that I desire. And that's what I help you do. So I'm here to help you design the life that you desire. So you can also catch me on LinkedIn and, all the other social medias and stuff. And I'm working on something really cool right now, just between you and me. Like, don't tell anybody else. I'm working on a book that is for sale. It's actually a journal. So it's I've released a free 7-day journal. If anyone would like, just let me know. Happy to send it through. But I'm actually working on a 30-day one that will be for sale, which I'm really, really excited about. It's my first foray into doing something like that. So for me, that is me jumping out of my comfort zone. And I'm really excited to share that. As I said, don't tell anybody because I've not quite finished it yet. But I'm looking forward to sharing it with you soon.
Wonderful. And we've still got a couple minutes, but we're trying to be under 60 minutes so that Instagram will let us post. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Shane for spending time with us, and I'd like to leave with some parting words. So we'll go from me to Shane, and then we'll let Sarah end our call beautifully as she's done in the past. So whatever your dreams, whatever your hopes and your aspirations are, you are worthy of them all. And all I ask is you to go out and take one massive step towards achieving that.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah, look, the 2 things I'll leave you with is the best things in life are on the other side of fear. If you fear something, face it, overcome it, strengthen yourself, push yourself, become a 1% a day, and then you will no longer fear it, and you can live that. And the other thing is the only limits you have in your life are the ones that you choose to hold on to yourself. You're making the choice to limit yourself, and it does not have to be that way.
Thank you.
I like that. Now, I was going to say something different, but it's just popped into my mind that a mentor of mine said, go have some fun. Go out there, and I'm going to swear, guys. So if you don't want to hear me swear, put your fingers in your ears, all right? Go have some fun. Fuck up now. Seriously, go have some fun. Do something different. And if it's not for you, that's fine. That is going to have an amazing effect on you. You can have some pretty cool conversations about that. Just like this one, Uplift, where we have conversations that set your heart on fire. Every fortnight, we have fantastic new guests that come along and join us, share their words of wisdom. And I trust if you really enjoyed this information that you will share it with someone who you believe will get some value out of it too. So guys, go out there, design that life you desire. Go have conversations, jump outside that comfort zone and have some fun. Take care.